All right. So, like I was saying, I have a few questions that I'm trying to get answered in terms of creativity.
Hmm.
Um, but first, if you could just give a quick synopsis of you. So, just, I guess,
Yeah.
who are you? What do you do?
So I work in the film and television industry. I've been working for about 10 years now.
Hmm.
I graduated from Toronto Film School in 2008 in the program of film and television production. And in about a year or two of graduation, I was working on Hollywood sets as a PA, consultant. Ended up working as a first assistant director on a Canadian feature film that was shot here and in India. And from that point onwards, I wanted to direct my own stuff, so I started a production company called Bandit Territory Productions. And now I'm moving on to some other projects and another company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, another company?
another company. It's a new production company with different partner, and also trying to get some equipment which will be used on majority like of these big budget
Hmm.
productions. So RE camera, lenses, Steadicam, some lights.
Okay. Okay. So, then you have like a good perspective of things
Hmm.
from creative to the business, I guess.
I've
Um,
learned over the period
Yeah.
of time, yes.
Yeah, right. You learn to make it business
Hmm.
when you love it, I guess.
Of course, you have to. Anything you do, at the end of it, you have to sustain yourself too,
Yeah.
right? You have to make a living in film business. You have to have that sort of a mindset,
Yeah.
um, you know, business mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it.
Mm.
You have to be able to do many things. So, for you, what is creativity?
What is creativity? Um, it's the ability to imagine and anything that you can imagine. If you bring it to life, you bring it to paper, you bring it to screen, or even if you're just, setting up lights on a set,
Hmm.
that's imagination that you're using to bring uh, a certain look or feel, you know, into existence. And that is what creativity is.
Yeah.
Or whether you're a painter, in your case, um, whatever, any stroke that you apply,
Yeah.
that's creativity.
Yeah. I guess it's whatever you do, right?
Mm.
But in terms of what you do,
Hmm.
what do you think creativity is? Is it exactly what you just said, or?
I think that's what it is. Creativity is my ability to think of, let's say, stories, come up with a plot, premise for a film, and have the ability to structure it and then write it into a story on paper, and then eventually film it. For me, that is creativity. It's putting your imagination to use, bringing it out there, expressing it.
Yeah. So the whole making a story thing, I guess I guess we can go to the next question,
Sure.
which is how does that work? How does that process work for you?
How does the process work? A lot of it is from inspiration, daily life, people
Hmm.
you interact, things you learn,
Yeah.
and then you start thinking of, okay, well, if a certain character was in that scenario, what would happen? How would you bring that to life?
Okay.
And then for me, it's mostly wherever I get inspiration from, I start to develop a story around it, and it's a long process of development. It can take sometimes months before I sit down and start writing it. So majority of it will be in my head for the longest period of time, just cooking and simmering, and then eventually it'll just boil out onto the paper um, as a synopsis, and then eventually a more developed structure for a feature film or short film script.
So you won't write anything until you know the story?
Until I've yeah, most of the times I don't write for at least a couple of months. So if I've thought of something, it'll be there. It'll go in. That thought will go in, you know, somewhere in
Yeah.
my head. It'll stay there, then I'll come back, and then I'll start focusing on something else
Yeah.
until I feel it's ready that it should, go on paper.
Huh. So like with the creative process, there's four stages.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they believe it in textbook world
Okay.
land. There's four stages. There's preparation, incubation,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's implementation, and then illumination,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe in reverse. But it sounds like your preparation and your incubation is like,
It's all in my head.
yeah. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. You just keep it all there,
Mm.
so nothing comes out. It's just like
It's
some
just there.
thoughts,
Mm.
and then you do what I say. I usually say, let your brain do the work. Like
Yeah.
if I'm like focusing on something, I'm just gonna let my brain like
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
deal with that and
Exactly.
like go do something else.
Yeah, I mean that's anything, any action you take, as they say, you should think before you speak or you do anything, right? You act. It's the same thing with the creative process for writing, I believe, where you have to think and let that thought stay and develop until you feel it's in a shape or form that you can now begin to work with it on paper or on your writing software. So yeah.
So
So
then right away, I guess the part of implementation or illumination,
hmm
that's the part that goes into the actual paper.
yes.
Like then you start doing the actual things,
hmm
and then from there, what do you do? So like let's say you're done with that. It's been a few months. You start writing.
So once I begin to write, I focus on the story. So I write a 1 page or 2 page, sometimes 3 or 4 page synopsis. So just bring all my thoughts that I've developed over a period of time, bring it to paper. From there, I begin to edit it, structure it according to whatever it's based on, or the format that will go onto. And then I work on the characters, developing the character sketch, um, write like an index, which is basically a breakdown, beat by beat, you
Mm-hmm.
can say, or scene by scene breakdown of how I will tell the story in a visual form.
Okay.
Um, and then from there, I start writing a screenplay.
Okay. So you do all that, and then from there you start writing the screenplay.
Yes,
So then, what would you call all that writing beforehand? Like all the parts you were doing?
that is all development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the development process is two major steps. One is cooking it in your head,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring it to paper. But then again, cook it on paper. You
Oh,
really have to again go and format and bring it to your style, as well as develop it in a manner that it can be written for film.
okay.
So you have to follow certain steps to be able to get there. You can start before that, but sometimes you'll be missing key information, which unless and until you've gone through these uh, steps, you wouldn't be able to really justify what you've written in the screenplay. At least for me, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, with the development, I'm trying to think for myself because I'm trying to
hmm
apply it to the documentary I'm trying to make.
Yes. Yes.
But what are the steps in the development? Like the cooking it on paper.
hmm
Like what are the steps in that?
In that, first is of course, as I said, synopsis. You write a short. It can be 3 paragraph about what your idea is about,
Okay.
what's your concept. You write what the theme is. If you want to give it a one sentence or one liner, you
Okay.
can do that, a log line. From there, you begin to break down how many characters you see, main characters or supporting characters, and develop those characters as to who they are, what their age is, what their names are, what their background is. What's their goal? What are their goals in your story, and how will they achieve their goals? Or if you have an antagonist, how will that antagonist achieve its goal um, to you know give hurdles to the protagonist?
Yeah.
So you develop all of those things with the characters, and I have about 40 questions that I've developed over a period of time. using different references,
Yeah.
which helped me achieve that, to narrow it down what each character is like from personality, what their likes are, dislikes.
Yeah.
Um, so that really helps me to take it further into what I call as a beat sheet.
Okay.
Well, that is what people say, beat sheet or index cards, which is basically each and every major plot point of your screenplay. You list it on paper, then you add different sub plot points or small scenes, which will then tie it all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And once I have that ready, then I can begin writing the script.
And then from there, you start writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So, so you go. So it's in your head. So first it's just a thought. Then it becomes a little something that you start thinking about a little more. You put it aside. Then the development
Mm-hmm.
on paper. Then you start writing the script. So what happens from there once you start writing the script?
What happens from there? I begin to write, and I'll be involved in it for a while, and then I'll give it a rest.
Okay.
I'll write probably 5, 10 pages, and then I'll just stop for a while.
Okay.
Come back to it in a few weeks or so, or days, and then begin again. Continue.
Yeah.
And what these rest periods do is, it helps me stay sane, have a life.
Yeah.
And then also it helps to sort of like forget about what you were writing,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you come back to it, you're reading and writing from with like fresh eyes, and that helps you find any loopholes or anything which is weak in the development phase, and you can correct it and then continue.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
so
for
you're doing so you do that. So you do the rest periods back and forth. How many pages are you going for?
how many pages?
Yeah.
In a day, I write for about 2 to 3 hours, or sometimes more, four
But
hours.
but the full script, like how many like are you
It
aiming?
depends. It depends on what you're writing about.
Yeah.
How many, especially when you're developing it, you get an idea of how many pages it'll be,
Yeah.
based on how long like how long do you need to tell the story. And once you have developed, you have a beat sheet, you can actually tell if this will be like 10 pages, or it'll be like 15 pages, or is it something that you can develop into a feature film,
Yeah.
and then you take it from there. But so far, I've written screenplays which were like 2 pages, 3 pages, 6 pages, to like 15 pages, 20 pages, and I've written two feature film screenplays which are like 110 or 90 pages.
Wow.
So it's yeah. It all depends on what you're trying to tell, and how much screen time do you really need to tell this story.
Okay. So there's no real aim. You're not aiming for pages, you're aiming just for the story.
For the story, yes.
Yeah. So then you've gone back and forth doing the rest periods,
Mm-hmm.
and you've come to almost the end of the script. Like what happens then? Like just as you're finishing it, like what's the process at that point?
Just as you're finishing it, I honestly think you can never finish a screenplay.
No.
No. So you can finish it, you can write the end, but then you'll eventually go back and you start revising what you've written, and then you call it the second draft of the screenplay. You correct your grammar, sentence structure, or dialogues,
Mm-hmm.
any spelling mistakes.
So you're saying after all that you do a second draft?
You do the second draft, and in that second draft, again, things will change. So the order of scenes will change, or you might think that, this scene is not really necessary, I can take it out. So you take it out. Or you say, I can substitute this scene to another scene that I just thought of. And that makes more sense because, yeah, this makes the story flow better.
Yeah.
So you discover, it's like a continuous journey of discovery, and continuous changes over like multiple drafts.
So then, like you were saying, for the second draft, you're just correcting a lot of things. You're bringing things together. So what happens after you finish the second draft? Is there a third or?
Oh, I've written for feature length. I've written 13 drafts.
Is that being a perfectionist, or is that like a standard thing?
I don't know. A lot of writers go through
Yeah.
many different drafts. I don't know how many. Some people just go with one draft and fine, we can go into production with this.
Yeah.
It's I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I know it'll never be perfect, but you try to make it the best you can, right? And
Yeah.
so you continue to revise until you finally make peace with it.
Yeah.
And you say, this is it, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Da Vinci said, "Art's never finished, only abandoned."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Jeez. Okay, so then, but you've gone through the drafts. Let's say you've passed number 13. You're done. It's finished. So then, what's the process at that point?
From
Actually,
that point,
you know what? Give me one
Yeah.
second. Yeah.
wait.
We're still going. Okay, so let me. So you've done all the drafts. Let's say you've gone to number 13 and beyond. You're finished. What happens at that point? What's the process then?
Then it's a completely new journey. Um, you have to show it to people. You have to get feedback from other professionals, in the industry. Sometimes people actually bring in actors on a round table and have them read the script.
Okay.
Um, and at that point, you can understand what's working, what's not working, and it's a complete cold read. These actors have not read it prior to this. It's a complete cold read. You do one, you get an idea of what's going on, then you start giving them directions as to how they should read again.
Hold on one second. Something odd is happening with your microphone.
With my microphone?
Yeah. Check the battery power level at all?
No.
As you're reading, or as you're talking, it's doing some weird stuff.
Let me turn my phone off.
Oh.
Could be interference.
Yeah, it does actually happen. That actually happened last time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, but his phone went off, and then all of a sudden it just went shh. It just did a bunch of weird stuff. Perhaps that was it.
Yeah, sometimes the frequencies just could be someone around the area too.
That too.
TDC bus or something driving by.
Technology.
I know.
Sorry, so where were we?
Do you want to begin again from what happens after?
Yeah. Let's just what happens after the 13th draft, after you're done all of that.
It's a new journey altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've finished the writing process of it, then it's time to take it to industry professionals, other writers, directors, to take a read, give you feedback. You can go to a script doctor and get it refined further, or you can bring in a panel of actors on a round table, and then you ask them to read through the script, and that helps you understand if a particular dialogue is working or not working for this scene, or is it too much for this character?
Yeah.
Should you cut down the length of the dialogue. So all of those things, then you start to assess in this room as to where you stand with the screenplay, whether it needs further revision or it's ready to take it to producers.
Mm-hmm. So, if it's ready to take it to producers, which is also a role that you've like taken in your
Yes.
path. So then, perhaps we can just go from now you're the person handing it, and now you're the person taking it.
Taking it, receiving it. Yes, yes.
So what then happens then?
At that point, when let's say if someone brings a script to me, I will read through it, understand, what these characters are, what the journey is,
Okay.
and the story. Create a breakdown of locations. Is it exterior, interior? Um, how many locations or how many props we need, special props. Basically, try to get an idea of what are the key components that we'll need to, bring it to life. And once you have that, then you can create a breakdown for the budget and create an assessment. Okay, it'll probably cost us this much in this range. And then from there, you can decide whether you want to take it on. Is it something that's really worth it or not? Or is it something beyond you right now? Or is it something that you can further develop with the writer or director? And if you feel that there's something that is missing, then you can work with them and give your feedback that, this is what I thought about your screenplay. And what if you do things a little bit differently over here or there? Or just to see how open the writer director is to listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that also helps you determine whether you can actually work with them, because it's a a collaborative process.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person will be at odds from the get-go, then of course it'll be difficult to manage later on as well.
Yeah.
And it also has to do with whether you are on the same page as their vision, whether you've been able to completely understand their vision. And as long as two people are on the same wavelength, I think you can then take it further.
Yeah, definitely. So then that's what happens once you get it. So what's the process past that?
Past this, it's an endless journey. Let's just put it that way. Then it comes down to finances, looking for the money. Do you have enough funds of your own? Let's say if it's a short film.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, should you take it to other producers, get, a co-production signed? Or do you want to apply for grants or funding from, different agencies? Determine that, and then if you are looking for grants, you hire a grant writer to put in the application. And usually these grant writers have established links in these different funding bodies and are able to push your, script further up for consideration.
Okay.
And if you are now at a position where you have all the funding to go ahead with the production, then your pre-production starts, where you hire the crew, the cast, you develop a schedule of pre-production, production, and post-production. Organize the shoot, and then acquire props, equipment, whether rental or purchase. And from there you just go into production.
Huh. So that's the whole thing. I didn't think you'd be able to give me the whole breakdown there.
It's a very short one, actually.
Really?
It is a short one. I mean, if I go into too much detail, I don't know how long this will end up being. But it's true. Because it takes months, this whole process of pre-production. So it's also like getting permits for locations, if it's outdoor shoots. If it's indoor shoots, then contracting the owner of a particular property to provide it for filming. A lot of negotiations.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So so that was good. Perfect. that's good there for the creative process of that,
Mm-hmm.
because we touched on so many through it. But where do you think creativity comes from?
Where does it come from?
Yeah,
Uh, I think it comes from imagination, as I was saying.
yeah,
Your ability, every human being is able to imagine, is able to think of ideas,
yeah,
and so we all are, you know, creative
yeah,
in our own ways, and that's where it comes from, creativity.
yeah. You think it just comes from us?
It comes from within, yes.
From what do you think? So you think everybody has it if it just comes from within?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't necessarily apply to, let's say, for film, for one person.
Mm.
It might be for music, it might be for architecture, city planning, but all of everything, anything that everyone does in life, I think it's creative because it comes from a thought process, and that thought process is triggered by imagination
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part.
for the most part, or it could be reactionary as well.
Yeah.
But then again, your imagination does come into play.
Yeah, it has to. So it comes from imagination.
Hmm.
So then so then everybody has it. You think?
I think everyone has it.
So then what do you think a creative is? Because if everybody has creativity, which is true,
Hmm.
then like what is a creative? Because like we're in the line of like being creatives.
Yes, I think it's termed for us,
Mhm.
people who are into arts.
Yeah.
Um, and creative is someone who is now ready to express, you know, um, their art or their voice.
Yeah.
And one thing especially with arts, is that, and I think the reason why we're called creatives is that we try to put our soul into whatever we create.
Hmm.
So anything I write, there'll be a piece of me in it. Um, it could be my experiences. It could be something I want to achieve. So a lot of times you put your soul into it, and that's where I think the term creatives apply to us a lot more.
Mm.
Um, you know,
That is a good differentiation.
yeah.
Because I was
And
talking
that's
to.
just my understanding.
Yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? The top of the top always talk
Mm.
about people always talk about selling their souls,
Yeah.
right? But I guess they just put it all into it, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So then, so yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So so we just put it all in, and where somebody else, I guess, would just be a hobbyist or just experimenting.
I mean, if you take into stuntman or stuntwoman their job,
Yeah,
they're also creative, right?
yeah,
They're also considered creative,
yeah,
but their process is completely different.
yeah, definitely.
Um, and yeah, they're also putting a piece of their soul into it by attempting dangerous acts and stunts.
Yeah.
So
So I guess commitment
commitment, yes.
is where the roads
Mm,
fork in terms of being a creative and just
yeah.
being a normal person.
I don't think anyone's normal in this world, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
We're all unique.
Yeah, in different ways.
Yeah.
Mm. So, oh, let's let's focus on this one. Any advice on how to make this documentary that
For
that,
you.
that you're inside of right now? Like to make it very meta.
Uh, to make it, I think you have a good start with your whole structure
Yeah.
that you've implemented, and that you're following.
Hmm.
Um, this certainly does help. The
Yeah.
two angles,
Yeah.
your ability to cut between,
Hmm.
and probably cut some of this gibberish out, which will make it interesting. Film or any documentary, everything it's our lives, but with the dull pieces cut out,
Yeah.
as I believe Hitchcock said it. So that's exactly what you have to do with this documentary. You have to take all these interviews and also probably document yourself. You know
Yeah.
how your process is evolving as you learn new experiences of others, or their process. And that will really drive your documentary to, I think, completion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I gotta cut it up a lot.
Oh yes, cut it up. You can go out, film some B-roll footage of the city, or you can
Yeah.
people you've interviewed that you want to actually now go because you found their interviews more interesting, and you want to have you want their presence in the documentary
Yeah.
more than others. You can go approach them and say, you know what, how about I follow you for a day in your creative process,
Yeah.
and document it, and then you can intercut all of that footage with this interview, um, and intercut your own process as it's evolving.
Yeah.
So maybe you should have another camera just pointed towards you.
Yeah. Maybe.
During
Maybe.
these interviews, huh?
Please. Yeah. Another one. I got my phone.
Hmm.
That might work.
Oh yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Oh.
That's true though. All right. Perfect. Um. Yeah. What is a creative? What is creativity? Where do you think it comes from?
What do you think? Where does creativity come from?
What do I think?
Yeah.
Where creativity comes from? Oh man. As I talk to all these people,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's weird. It seems it comes from emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why there's creatives and then there's normal people,
Mm-hmm.
because creating something doesn't invoke the same emotion in a quote unquote normal person
Mm-hmm.
as it does in a creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like when a creative does something, like I made those paintings that are out there, those like 8 paintings. I made those in the past like 48 hours because like I just felt like I have to do it. I have to do it.
Wow.
Along with editing video and doing this and that. So it's weird. It's creativity. I think comes from emotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think it comes from mainly. It's yeah, it's weird because that's what I see in everybody I talk to. They all have this distinct emotion towards it. Like I had one question where I was asking people, if creativity was a drug, what kind
Mm-hmm.
of user would they be? And it's
Oh,
it's
nice one.
always it's always it's always like
Mm.
it gets dark because they'd be like addicts,
Mm.
and I feel like the same way. It comes from emotion.
Mm.
People just need to do it. You need to do it. It's so weird. It's because it's different for creatives to normal people.
Mm-hmm.
Normal people, like you said, everybody's creative, but like I don't know, creatives just take a plunge,
Mm-hmm.
different kind of plunge. So it just comes from emotion, but not everybody has the same type of emotion. I
Of
guess you
course.
could say not everybody has the same baselines,
Mm.
and I think with creatives, our baselines are a lot higher or lower.
Hmm.
What would make it so you have to do it? It would make it lower. Your
I think a
baseline.
lot of creatives are very sensitive people.
Yeah, like
So
sensitivity.
so
Yeah.
their emotions are, they have a broad range of emotions.
Yeah.
Certainly. But do you feel that you can start feeling a certain way to be able to write a certain story?
But yeah, faith. Faith is a big thing. Faith in yourself, and having other people have faith in you,
Mm.
I think is a big thing too.
Yes.
Proper support system.
And you know what? One thing in my process, I realized that initially I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
But as I began to share my work, uh, I always received very positive feedback,
Hmm.
and that also propelled me to continue then on this journey.
Yeah.
So it's very helpful if you have a support system. I
Definitely.
had an amazing support system, my family,
Yeah.
my friends, they all supported me very much. So I was able to,
Yeah.
climb out of my struggles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But your family, you were saying they were in the film as well,
yes,
so they kind of understand the whole
Yes, my dad is a producer, director, writer, actor, uh, musician, singer, you name
Wow.
it. He was famous in his times, and so I guess a lot that comes to me is through, you know,
Yeah.
um, through my experiences of growing up on set,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
in studio, in the editing room,
Really?
and seeing all of it. But when I came to Canada, I was the least interested
Really?
in creative side of, you know, things.
Really?
I actually wanted to become an astronaut.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I had some horrible teachers, and I took drama in high school, drama, photography,
Yeah.
music, and those teachers were like amazing, you know,
Yeah.
and that really inspired me to,
Wow.
go into this field.
Wow. All because
Yeah,
of the teachers.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So anytime I see someone, and I think this is very true, is that anytime you see someone who is successful in their field, is because they had a good mentor, um, someone who really inspired them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That would definitely be a big thing. I'm still trying to find that. That
Mm.
would be a good thing to have. But yeah, that's definitely a big thing to be
Yeah.
able to at least have somebody that's been there
Mm.
that can say like, "Don't worry,
Yeah.
it's gonna be all
Yeah. Exactly.
right." That kind of thing. True. Mentors.
Mm.
Yeah. Try and find one. Slowly. Slowly.
Slowly, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just go out there for some workshops.
That's true.
You know,
Have to find
you'll
those
find people
openings.
who've been out there,
Yeah.
and then who knows, maybe someone inspires you, and
Yeah. Yeah. True.
yeah,
You never know. I'll
yeah.
let it happen like love.
Mm. It has to be. It has to be.
Just let it happen. Just fall
Mm.
into it. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm pretty good.
Cool.
I got them all answered. We did a little more. We talked about smoking weed.
Uh, let's burn one after.